Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. It was inspirational to listen to the story of the Honourable Member for Bassett Law and her determination to never stop dreaming. It was also inspirational, fantastic to hear maiden speeches from many others too, and I was interested to hear from some members competition around the length of piers in seaside towns. And I hail from the great town of Eastbourne, and while it might be the case that some honourable members have a longer pier than mine, it's important to remember that what you do with it is what is most important. And on our pier we have cafes, we have bars, we have a former nightclub at which I once organised parties. We have got it all going on Eastbourne Pier. But it's also an inspiration looking around this house and reading about the members in this house to see and be part of the most diverse Parliament ever. More women than ever before, more LGBT people than ever before, and more Joshes than ever before. This house's population went from 0 Joshes to 7 Joshes overnight on the 4th of July, and that is what you call an open door policy, Mr. Speaker. And if members struggle to remember which Josh I am, I can make it very simple for them. This Josh represents Eastbourne, the sunniest town officially in the UK. And as an Eastbourne lad, born and bred, it's the honour of my life to represent my hometown, and in particular to fight to protect services at our local hospital where I was born, the DGH, as our Member of Parliament. I'm so grateful to the people of Eastbourne for placing their trust in me. Now, gorgeous sun rays aside, my town shines bright in its many other accolades that it holds too. We are the home of the first roller skating ice rink in the UK, 1875, the first five-a-side football tournament, 1957, and the birthplace of Arctic Roll in 1958. And most personally, Eastbourne is the town that made me. Home wasn't always safe when I was growing up, but thanks to a wonderful family who loved me, thanks to scout leaders at 1st Seaside Troop who challenged me, and thanks to teachers at Cavendish School who believed in me, Eastbourne gave me opportunity. In fact, there is a particular supply teacher who I want to pay tribute to right now, and that is Caroline Ansell, who went on to become the Conservative MP for Eastbourne, my predecessor. Mrs. Ansell and I first met in the religious education classroom, room 116, in Cavendish School, when I was 15 years old. And perhaps she'd have given me a detention or two had she known at that time that one day I would come for her next job at the ballot box some years later. But seriously, Caroline dedicated herself to Eastbourne, and I want to put my recognition of her commitment on the record. I'd also like to pay tribute to another predecessor, Stephen Lloyd, my good friend, whose service to our town inspires my own, a complete and utter legend. There's another predecessor as the Member of Parliament for Eastbourne whose memory this House can and must never forget, and that is of Ian Gow, who served from 1974 until he was appallingly assassinated in 1990. A few years before my time, Ian Gow is remembered and still admired by Eastbournians as an extremely hard-working Member of Parliament, and the shield that honours him in this House serves as a reminder of his service, of his grave sacrifice, and of our duty to pursue debate and disagreement with civility, with respect, and with peace. Yeah. Now, turning to the subject of this debate, I want to share a migration story which I think says a lot about the character of my town. And it started on a summer's day in 1960s Eastbourne when a sweet retired lady, Mrs. Baker, noticed a very curious sight. She saw another lady, also white, pushing a small black boy in a pram. Mrs. Baker, curious, struck up a conversation with that woman and asked what was going on. Mrs. Baker learned that the boy had been sent to live with that woman by a young Nigerian couple, and she was caring for the boy while that couple studied in London. Inspired, Mrs. Baker said that she would love to do the same. And coincidentally, the black boy's mother was pregnant again, and was for a third time a couple of years later. And so babies 2 and 3 were sent to live with the Baker family in Eastbourne. They were Toki Babarinde and Wale Babarinde, my uncle and my dad. And this was part of a sort of private fostering arrangement, not uncommon between West African families and white families at that time, but it wasn't without its complications. But in my dad's case, and for his brothers as well, moving to Eastbourne was a ticket to opportunity. They loved their upbringing, and Eastbourne embraced them. Now, sadly, my uncle Toki died earlier this year, and sat in the chapel during his funeral. I turned behind me, and among a sea of Nigerian faces was one white lady also paying her respects. Charmaine Baker, from the Baker family. That moment gave me goosebumps. Just like those moments when old school Eastbournians look at me in all my brownness and all my gayness and all my working class rootedness and say, Josh, you are one of our own. I share this story to say that while Eastbourne's hospitality traditions are often associated with the mighty bucket and spade, they go far, far deeper. Eastbourne's true hospitality traditions are of generosity, of welcome, of tolerance, of multiculturalism and compassion. The story of how I ended up in this house is testament to that, and I believe that the same goes in terms of those values for our country, regardless of what other members in various places in this house may say. Yeah. Now, while our town benefits from more sunshine hours than any other in the country, that blaring sun sometimes casts shadows too. I'm gutted to say that Eastbourne is also home to the busiest food bank in the country. Last year, it distributed more food parcels per head than any other food bank in the UK, according to the Trussell Trust. And that's why, working with Eastbourne Food Bank's inspirational CEO, Howard Wardle, I led Eastbourne to become the first place in the country to declare a cost of living emergency from the council and to unlock emergency funding for those who are struggling most. It's also why I sincerely believe that this government should be even more ambitious in leading the fight against poverty by scrapping the 2-child benefit cap. A compassionate state is by no means a state that makes us soft or weak. In fact, care is power. We cannot have enterprise, we cannot have innovation, we cannot have justice if we do not have a culture of care and compassion. This has underpinned my career's work, founding and running an organisation supporting vulnerable young people out of crime, out of gangs and into employment. Our constituents have sent us here to be bold in rebuilding and imagining our great country's spirit of having one another's backs, and as Eastbourne's MP, I will strive to achieve nothing less. Thank you.
Thank you.